Apologies for the car sounds today. There's an inversion layer and sounds are carrying really far today, especially the road over there. Somebody a while ago inquired about my position on drugs, and I thought it would be a good video. I'm going to start out by saying that I am not opposed to the use of drugs. I think they can have their place. I, however, in my life, have chosen to not use drugs at all. I have never even smoked marijuana. I think this started early on in my early teens, because I remember a time when I decided I wasn't going to take Tylenol. And, routine, if I'd have a headache, or I was in cross country, so, achy body from running too hard or getting an injury. And the decision to not use painkillers kind of came out of this martial artsy, discipline-oriented mindset that I had, which said that I could use this little pill to deaden the pain, or I could use my mind, either my willpower or meditative states or whatever it was going to be, but I could overcome this problem without needing to depend on this little pill that comes from a pharmaceutical company in a plastic bottle. It was like a challenge to myself. Another big event for me was, and it's not a drug, but in a way it is. I got a motorcycle, and this is my late teens, and loved it. It's so fun. The speed, the adrenaline, oh my gosh, such a powerful machine there, just propelling you forward. It was this awesome rush. But there were a series of events that led to me deciding not to use a motorcycle anymore. But one of the big ones for me was suddenly realizing that I could be putting a lot of time and energy and money into my bike and trying to get it, faster and stronger and better tires, or maybe a new bike that was more pumped up. Or I could take that time and energy that I was going to put into the bike, and I could put it into myself. And making that conscious choice, I think, is part of why I'm in the shape I am today at over 40 years old. And I easily could have been a biker. I loved it. But I loved it more as I continued to forge my body, and now running through the woods, jumping over things, climbing trees, that to me is equally as exciting as a motorcycle. But I don't have that pill in the form of a motorcycle that I need to use in order to get that. This video, though, is specifically about drugs that are considered illegal in the United States. So I'm talking about psychoactive drugs, I'm talking about pot. And as I said, I'm not totally against these. I have wine once in a while, and that is a drug. I've never been drunk, but because I have wine, very, very seldom, even a small glass of wine does create an effect in my mind. And so I can understand the appeal of intaking a substance that alters your perception of reality. And oddly, I owe probably mushrooms and LSD a debt of gratitude, because those drugs have brought a fair amount of people to Reweld University. The reason is that, as you probably have seen through my videos, Reweld U is not, this is not a straight skills survival school. There are way better schools that you could go to if you just want to learn raw skills. Reweld University, we teach those skills, but they all come out of a foundation of forging your body and your mind as your primary survival tool. As students explore the deepest potential of their mind and their body here at Reweld U, the mind exploration often gets into almost a mystical realm. And that exploration lines up with the LSD and the mushroom experiences, so that there's a draw for students. So in other words, the mushrooms, the LSD, are often a gateway drug into coming to Reweld University. But then students come up against a wall, because they discover that the experience they had with the mushrooms or the LSD, it was an amazing experience, but for most of the people that use those drugs, it only comes with the drug. It's like the painkiller, right? Take the painkiller, the pain goes away. Take the drug, I have a mystical experience, and then it goes away. And there's a longing, like, give me that back. That was incredible. I suddenly understood what all this was about. I wasn't stressed out anymore. I felt connected to everything. Where is that? And that is something that we can achieve without drugs. In the same way that we can rewire our definition of pain so that we don't need that Tylenol. We can experience these mystical, if I can call them that, or these profound mind states without the drugs, but there's a qualitative difference. When you feel that oneness and that connection without the use of drugs, it's very whole, it's very pervasive, and it becomes an essential part of you. It doesn't disappear. It settles into you in a really beautiful way. That mushroom LSD experience, it can feel when you're in it that it's settling into you. But something in you knows that it's not real, in the sense that it has no endurance in your life. It's not really you. It's that mushroom that you took interacting with you. So that's where I can see the benefit of LSD or mushrooms, for instance, because they can start people on a quest for something, for a more holistic view of life. But there's a big disadvantage to those drugs, because people start to look for that same experience in the drugless state. And that's not exactly what happens. And it gets people into a loop where they're trying to meditate, they're trying to connect with life, and it's just not happening, because there's part of them looking for this. And it's almost like it leaves a scar on the mind that's very difficult to heal from. So, ideally, we wouldn't have to use those drugs. we would come to that search for a more holistic experience of life. Because we see it in others, because we've heard about it, because we have a sense that there's got to be something more than just going to work and paying the bills, being frustrated. And for me, that's the primary reason that I don't use drugs, is that I had a sense early on, I had an experience in my teens that led me to this, to feeling like there was something more to life. There was something amazing going on behind the background, behind the autopilot, behind the everyday lives that everybody's just living. You could almost equate it with that movie, The Matrix, where it feels like there's just, we're all living our lives and it just feels normal and regular, but there's something behind there that's unseen. And so, for me, again, just like the painkillers, I wanted to experience this, but I didn't want to rely on some kind of a drug to get me there. And I'm really glad I made that decision. It's led me to an amazing experience of life that is pervasive. That I don't need to go and take a drug to get it. And this is available to all of us. And I think in a way, if we commit ourselves to the search for that without falling back on the drugs, we give ourselves a head start. I mean, I can go my whole life taking the painkillers, and at any time, yes, I can stop and I can try to deal with a headache without it. But because I've become habituated to those drugs, it's tougher. It's tougher to get out of that comfort zone of allowing the drugs to give me that pain relief that I love. And so, starting now, if you have not used drugs, you're at an advantage because you can start the foundation of strengthening right from the beginning. Another thing I'd like to point out about drugs is that a doctor explained this to me once. Let me try to explain this in an example. I'm having an inflammatory response in my body. You could imagine that inflammatory response goes through 4 steps, let's say. And, it starts at this centralized part of my body, and it finally comes out to an achy knee. When I take a pill, an anti-inflammatory, it only hits that end cause. So it takes down the inflammation in the knee, but all the other steps leading up to that are left untouched. And so what happens is that these steps that are trying to create some inflammation here in the knee are going, wait, we're doing all our work, but there's no inflammation down here. So we probably have to step up our work. And that, you can see, is why so many of our drugs, we can become habituated to them. And we need more and more of them to get the same effect. It's the same with alcohol, in a way. It's the same with these mystical drugs. They get us right to the end, to that mystical state. But we haven't built up the foundation leading to that. And so, as soon as the drug is gone, it might linger for hours or a couple days, or even a week or two. But pretty soon it drops away. If we build from the foundation up, our bodies, our minds, leave the drugs out of it, I think we come to a much stronger place. a final thought. For me, it's also been powerful to expand my definition of drugs to include things like television, internet, cell phone, texting. These are drugs that I partake in. Just like I said, I have some wine once in a while. So, I guess I don't watch TV because I don't have one. But the internet, and I do have a cell phone. And once in a while I even text people. Using those drugs, if we are going to use drugs, with consciousness and in great moderation. Probably any of you can tell, like, you sit down at the internet and it just starts taking you away. You get lost into Yahoo News or some kind of celebrity gossip or whatever. Stuff that is just filling our brain with junk food. It has no bearing on our life. But it draws us in because it has that addictive quality. These ones, like I use Yahoo for my email, and I found out you can type in mail.yahoo.com and it takes you straight to your mail. You don't even have to go to that, news blah blah blah. It's trying to draw you in. Seeing in our lives where there are things that are acting as drugs that we feel like we need them in order to be happy and or to be able to be functional, and making a conscious decision. Is this a drug that I want to include in my life? There may be some, like you may say, I need my family to be happy and functional. Embrace it, accept it, make it fully yours. You may look at something else, like TV or LSD or video games, and you might say, yeah, it gives me a fix, but it doesn't leave me feeling whole and healthy. And then from there, you can make a decision about where it is in your life, where you want it to stand. As you can see, this is a lot about really taking control of our life. Control's maybe the wrong word, but it'll do for now. Taking control of our life, because there are so many things in our culture right now that'll pull us away, pull us into autopilot, and leave us just weaker in our bodies, weaker in our minds, weaker in our health than we have to be. Each of us has so much potential, so much ability to make change inside of ourselves, our families, our communities, even the world. Let's take that. That's my birthright. That's your birthright. Let's claim it. Thanks for watching.